Hello friends, in this video I am talking about PMI-ACP exam change. Many of you are aware that PMI-ACP exam has changed from July 2015, and this video is meant for professionals who have been preparing for PMI-ACP exam for a while but could not appear in the previous version. Do we have a new version of Agile? The answer is no. Agile values, principles and the concept of agility remains as it is. So what are these changes? These changes are about covering more content, talking about some more matrices, covering more methods. So this is something which we will be discussing in this particular video. Now, the good news is now PMI-ACP is having 7 domains. So PMI has declared that there will be 7 areas for which the exam will test the professionals, and these areas, the contribution of these areas in the exam is also shared. So for example, we know Agile principle and mindset will give 16% of the questions. In the PMI-ACP content outline, these areas are explained by way of elaborating the type of task a professional does in these respective areas. Extending these areas and domains, the PMI-ACP content outline also has tools and techniques and knowledge and skills. And tools and technique and knowledge and skills was there in the previous version as well, and they talk about particular topic which usually comes in the exam. The problem here is the tools and techniques and knowledge and skills are not directly mappable to the domain. So one has to do some level of judgment to identify that particular mapping and figure out that okay, which domain and how much percentage of questions can come for that area. So I have done the analysis of the exam changes on the basis of domains. So I am writing the 7 domains here, and this is the percentage contribution information which is coming from PMI, and then I am using one more column where I am putting my judgment that what percentage of change one can feel from the previous version to this particular version. So this is a change percentage which is coming respective to the domain area, and finally we have a calculation which is kind of an effectiveness of a previous content in the new version. So this is how I have designed this particular table. So let's look at the first domain, Agile principles and mindset. This is a new domain. So many professional comes and says that, oh, now we have a new domain in PMI-ACP. Yeah, we do have a new domain, but there is nothing new in it. We cannot think of talking Agile without knowing its values, principles and Agile mindset and understanding in which particular domain Agile kind of approach helps executing project or executing work. So the mindset was already there. Now you may have few more terms which talks about that in which particular project context the Agile makes the perfect sense, but things like empirical model, things like Agile values and principles were already in place. So I will put a judgment of that we may have 5% content change or some more terms coming in the Agile principles and mindset area. Now let's look at the value driven delivery. So value driven delivery was a domain which talks about prioritizing product backlog or prioritizing your work. So in the previous content also we were having models like Moscow, Kano, we were doing prioritization on the basis of desirability, we were doing prioritization on the basis of financial values, and those things remain as it is. There are few more terms. Now we have minimum viable product as well. Earlier version only was talking about minimum marketable features, and these terms are many times used interchangeably, but yes, we can see few terms, but very minor change, and I am only putting 2% as a change in this particular section which is called value driven delivery. And this domain is the most rewarding domain as far as exam is concerned, and I see the minimum number of change in this particular domain area. Stakeholder engagement. The previous content was also talking about engaging stakeholder. We were engaging them by keeping things transparent. We were engaging them by showing the product early and often. We were involving them in requirement related workshop. So the idea of Agile development is we should not manage stakeholder but should engage them. So those things remain more or less as it is. Yes, we do have some terms, and the new content outline talks about few traditional stakeholder management terms. So I do expect that the professional may need to go through some more terminology related to stakeholder management, and we can say that approximately 50% of the stakeholder management content may get some revision or some more terminology awareness. So overall, it is contributing 17%, and with the previous content also you still get 14% plus. Team performance. So team performance is a domain area which talks about coaching, mentoring, developing self-organizing team, creating high-performance team, and those things remains more or less as intact. We do talk about Shuhari model, which was very much present in the previous version of the exam. Coaching Agile team, one of the PMI-ACP reference book which was there, remains relevant now also. Now we do have some more team models. The norming, forming, storming team model is getting some focus in the new content. So again, considering these new models getting or new terminologies getting introduced, I can say that there are 20% and changes in it. We do talk about some of the matrices like self-assessment metrics for the team performance which got introduced. So there will be some more terminologies, and we can say that 20% of the team performance area is getting affected. Adaptive planning, I say there is a 0% change. The adaptive planning keeps covering the estimation part, the planning part of Agile project. The Agile estimation and planning, which was there as a reference material for the previous version, remains as it is relevant for the current version also. So if you are doing planning poker, if you understand t-shirt sizing, affinity based estimation, wideband Delphi and all those stuff, you are good in it and you can score the direct 12% marks which was there in the previous version. Problem detection and resolution and continuous improvement. So these two domains primarily talks about links to retrospective and lesson learned meeting. They were there in the previous version as well, but yeah, we do have more terms, more matrices in the new version. These two lessons are in our PMI-ACP content. It is mapping to the governance and retrospective lessons, and they are getting a bit impacted. I am saying that problem detection and resolution may have 20% impact, whereas continuous improvement may have 10% improvement, 10% impact. It's all about doing Kaizen. It's all about learning from the mistakes and refining your future path. So having said that, if we calculate the effectiveness of the previous version of PMI-ACP contents, I do feel that if your previous version is covering the earlier Agile tools and techniques and knowledge and skills, you should be near 90% with the current version as well. So I don't see, as far as content outline is concerned, the changes going beyond 10%. So does it mean that we just have 10% change? I'm not sure. So even though from the analysis of a content outline it may look like 10% change, but I am not sure. Reason, in the previous content also there was no explicit statement which can think a learner thinking of that he will get questions like scrum roles, scrum ceremonies in exam. Why do we have a question which comes about that what kind of 3 questions we should be asking in daily scrum? But exam was covering all those details because the previous version of the exam was using Scrum as an example framework for implementing most of these Agile tools and techniques and knowledge and skills. And that is why the reference material along with the tools and techniques making Scrum as a weighted method. Now in the current version, in the current reference book, we see the similar kind of inclines towards Kanban. In the previous version, we were not having reference books talking about Kanban method, but in the current version we have 2 books primarily talking about Kanban, and the lean book which was there remains as it is in the current version as well. So looking at that, I do see that all these things which we were looking in the form of Scrum example, we may also need to look into as a Kanban environment. We may need to think of that how do we do a value driven development in Kanban. How do we prioritize things in a Kanban environment? Maybe we use class of service or what all steps as we use to do a stakeholder engagement. How do we conduct daily stand-up in Kanban environment? We have been reading about doing daily stand-up release planning in Scrum environment, but what about Kanban? What about managing teams? How do we do retrospective or what is the Kanban format of doing or motivating or creating self-organizing team, how the planning is done in Kanban format, how the problem resolution and continuous improvement is done in Kanban format. The matrices like cumulative flow diagram, matrices like throughput may get more and more weightage. So my judgment is, though on terms and concept point of view, the changes are not looking high, but but one may need to go through the Kanban material in order to ensure that they do good in their PMI-ACP exam. So final recommendation, if you have your previous content, you are more or less good with it, but before you go for an exam, do pick one Kanban book out of these two reference books. You can pick this Kanban book of Successful Evolutionary Changes, which is again a David Anderson book, which is a quite famous book and coming as one of the reference material for PMI-ACP, or the Kanban in Action, the second book, but pick at least one book before you appear for the exam. As far as our content is concerned, we were covering from a content outline perspective, we are doing good. Our previous content is also covering more than 90% of the new content outline, but yes, our focus on Kanban was not that detailed. We do have a lesson on lean, but Kanban was more introductory concept in that particular lesson. So going forward, we are coming up with a detailed program on Kanban, which we will provide to our existing PMI-ACP clients as well. But if you are in a hurry, just go with our previous content, but do read one of the Kanban book. I'm sure you will do great in your exam. Thank you.